Hello, I'm Thomas Buckner, and I will be singing a concert of new music on May 3rd at Roulette in Brooklyn as part of the Interpretations concert series. I will be performing works by Malcom Goldstein, Jacques Bekaert, and Bun Ching Lam. The first composer whose work I'm going to be doing in this concert is Malcom Goldstein. Malcom is one of my favorite improvising composers. He's a phenomenal violinist who has developed his own technique, which he calls sounding. And he does solo soundings and group pieces where he teaches his concept to other members of the ensemble. I presented him in our series last year in Interpretations, and I was hoping maybe someday he might write me a piece, but didn't really have any ideas. And then he called me up one day and he said, "Tom, I've got an idea for a piece for us. It's called Wandering Still, and it's a setting of one of the fantastic haiku poems by Basho." Basho is the most famous of the Japanese haiku poets, and justifiably so. On a journey ill, my dreams on withered fields are wandering still. The graphic score for the piece, that's the various syllables in the poem. One can change the order of those syllables any way one wishes to. Of course, the fact that it turns out to look like a tree is another kind of graphic score instruction, and the rhythms that I will play on a rock. Malcom likens it to a mini no drama, and he was as I am, is a big fan of no. This is a reproduction that he used as a title page for this of the cover of an old collection of no plays. I couldn't invite Malcom Goldstein to perform a duet with me without also having him do a solo, because I love his solo playing so well. And he has a very special solo piece based on a folk song. But one bird sang not, which will open the concert, and then we will continue with music of my dear old friend Jacques Bekaert. He was a very active composer in the 60s and 70s. He made the first book on John Cage to be published by a European. It's an artist book. It's a box. I have lucky to have one because he gave me one. It's very insightful and beautiful work. In the 70s, John Cage loaned his place in Cold Spring to Jacques to live there, and he made a wonderful CD that's on the lovely music label of the pieces that he wrote when he was there, living in Cage's place while Cage was traveling. He's not so known now, so I wanted to give you that little background of his connections. With the Sonic Arts Union, he somehow was always aware of what was happening. He was aware that they were coming to Europe. Unlike most Europeans, he knew who they were. He told us, he was in the army, and he said to the people, "I have to go to Brussels. I have to be there. They need me for this concert." Which was, of course, not true at the time he said it. But when he got there, he helped them with their concert, helped perform their pieces. And one of the pieces I'm going to be doing of his is called A Distant Harmony. There's originally flute, viola, and voice in there. And that's flute, viola, bass, clarinet, and voice. And it's a very beautiful piece with no words, evoking a sense of this lost music, of distant music of Asia, Cambodian melodies. The other piece of his I'm doing is premiere, a brand new piece. It's actually going to be a New York premiere because I'm doing it first in California. Called Requiem for Robert Ashley, Ray Imamura, and Henri Pousseur. Robert Ashley was one of Jacques' best friends. Ray Imamura was very close to early in his life. He ended up living in different parts of the world, and he married somebody else later, but somebody he always had a strong feeling for. And she was a great pianist, and she was the pianist and co-manager of the Arch Ensemble for Contemporary Music, the co-director of Robert Hughes in California, in Berkeley, and just a wonderful person and a force for the music as well as his dear friend. And then Henri Pousseur was his composition teacher. To me, it's a very evocative and beautiful piece. It's very unusual. 10 instruments and voice, but most of the time only 2 or 3 of the instruments are playing. Even within a small ensemble, you might have a 5-person ensemble for one song, but it might be a texture of mainly duets with the voice and stuff. It's orchestrated with a lot of variety of combinations, which is something that I find very interesting in music, because the sound of everybody playing at once is just one sound. A good principle for improvisation as well. And the texts are phenomenal. He's a very literate man, and he picked poems by Walt Whitman, Dylan Thomas, Pablo Neruda, Celan, Anna Akmatova, and ends it with a poem of his own. And it's very, very phenomenal poetry, and really deeply felt, and composed in a radically simple style, which I really love. So I'm hoping people will enjoy it. The last 2 pieces on the program are composed by my dear friend Bun Ching Lam, a native of Macau, China, who came to the United States with a master's in piano playing and went to UCSD, University of California, San Diego, and came out a composer. And did a bunch of teaching early in her life, and then became an independent composer whose work I particularly admire. And she's written me a number of pieces over the years. And 2 of them are going to be performed in this concert. The first, Lotus Träume, for baritone and harp, to a text of Heinrich Heine. She wrote it because my wife's favorite instruments are the harp and the French horn. So I have a piece for harp by her, and a piece for and voice, and French horn and voice. But we don't have time to do both pieces, so we're doing the harp piece. Partly because there's a harp in the next piece, which is for a small ensemble: flute, viola, and harp. It's called 5 Songs from Cold Mountain, and it's a setting of 5 of the many, many, many poems written by the remarkable and legendary 9th century Chinese poet Han Shan. And the spirit of his poetry is so out there, it's so extreme. The legend is that he lived out in nature in the mountains, and he carved his poems on the rocks. And it's an example of a total commitment to his ideas and total, almost like wild abandon. And the music, in my opinion, really captures the spirit of these poems. And it's wonderful as a singer to be part of a chamber quartet. And the musicians I have are remarkable. In fact, I'm very thrilled with the people that will be performing in this concert. So I hope you come out, and we'll have a good time.